Hello, campers. Welcome back to the Business Broadcast. Today, I've brought James Martin on the show, good friend of mine and good friend of the show, brilliant entrepreneur and business owner. You can follow him on Instagram and YouTube as well, and that'll all be coming up as we discuss the questions you've given us around your business snags. So let's do it. Hello, gang. Welcome to a special edition of this here podcast. I'm joined with James Martin, big friend of the show, entrepreneur extraordinaire, and James Burr. And
three legends, you say?
It's the James and James show. We are going to do some answers to questions that you guys have been putting on the YouTube comments. More of you are commenting than ever before. And there's some good questions that we feel we should give clarity with your entrepreneurial struggles. Some of them are just statements, facts. You're going to read them out.
I'm going to read them out.
And then we're going to have a little chinwag discussion about them.
Yeah.
Those of you that don't know who James Martin.
I think we should give him
a little intro.
Let's have a little round of round of applause.
Do you want to talk about yourself, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I'm really good looking and a nice guy.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the end of
That's two lies done.
Yeah.
Let's get to the truth.
We talk about him, I would say, nearly every other show. You come
pretty
up,
much, yeah,
because we're great friends, lovers, and I talk about you. And so, if you wonder
in
who
very high
the
regard,
James Martin is,
is it? Yes.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is
what you get.
This is the man. Tell us a little bit about you.
No, I've been an entrepreneur from leaving school at 14, and I've just been in it a long time. I have lots of scars and lots of businesses that I've bought, sold, built, changed direction, done U-turns. I've done lots of stuff. So I bring to the table a bit of nous. Nous? Is that right, nous?
Yeah, nous. That'll do.
Nous, that'll do.
What was your biggest business? Is it in the tree space?
Yeah, arboricultural group was Ruskin's Arboricultural Group. Sold it once, then bought it back from the receiver and sold it again. So
Did you?
Yeah.
You've done that in your 20s, didn't you?
Yeah.
Millions?
Before I was, got into millions the second time, 600 grand the first time. 2.8 million the second.
But 600 grand when 600 grand was a lot of money.
A lot of money. Bought a Porsche, wrapped it round a tree and didn't pay the tax on the money. Like you do, because you're like, that's where you are.
That's what we like. Proper entrepreneurship.
How old was you when you got your hands on 600 grand?
27.
You was 27, and that was how many years ago?
A lot.
So how old are you now? 60?
62.
Post-war Britain, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Thank you, James.
That'd be 2 million in today's money, 600 grand. Then
that's
you sold it again.
Yeah.
A few years later, didn't you, for another couple of million quid, didn't it?
Yeah,
which is worth what, 5, 6 in today's money?
Yeah.
And once you had that second time around, what did you do with that money?
Bought property, land, property.
So first
and
time,
paid the tax.
What sort of property?
No, some raw field stuff on the outsides of villages and land that was potential for housing. Bought a farm. Bought some commercial property.
So that's what that was where my question was going. When did you fall in love with commercial old warehouses like me?
Yeah, I did
then or later?
No, later on, really, James, because I did the gig with buying land and flipping it for housing planning permission. I never built any houses.
You got the planning gain and then sold it on.
But when we received some big chunks of change, you got hit so heavily on tax, and in then we had like £10 million entrepreneurs relief at 10%. Yeah, and now you haven't got any of that. I think we've got £1 million. Yeah, £1 million.
And that's gone up. Yeah, from 1st of April.
But I mean, it was. The model was a broken model for doing it. You could end up with, if you wanted to take that money out and then buy a yacht, you could up to be at 48%. From getting it out of the limited company.
So. Because you bought an old garden centre, didn't you? Yeah. You ran that for a while.
Ran it for a while, then flipped that to, I think it was 110 houses. That was to Red Row Homes. Yeah. Red Row, I'm just finishing that now. That's actually how long that is. That's how long it has been. Because I sold that probably 8 years ago to them, and they're only just building it out. That's a long game. That's not for me. That's not for me. The commercial property, you can go in, sort it out, tidy it up, white lines, tarmac, grey paint on the floors, white paint on the walls, roller shutters, and get straight, especially here in the southeast, James. Yeah, we're very lucky in this bubble where we are, for having tenants at good revenue.
Would you prefer to build warehouses or buy them already done?
Absolutely buy them.
See, we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. You couldn't build them now if you had the planning permission on raw land and then return everything back within 6 years. I want to be returning stuff in 3.
I learnt that on a Savills valuation. So I've got a 20,000 square foot warehouse in Ipswich, and it's got a play centre and a day nursery. And I bought that off of an investment firm. They bought a big portfolio and they were selling bits off. And I was on a really low rent. And they couldn't put the rent up for 10 more years because I bought an existing lease. And I said, well, look, I'll give you the 10 years rent up front now for the freehold price. Anyway, we argued and I got close to the deal that I wanted. Anyway, so I got the bank to agree the mortgage and they sent Savills round to value it. And Savills valued it at whatever they valued it at. And in the valuation, the rebuild cost, the rebuild cost was double what I was paying for it. And that was the first, and that was probably 10 years ago that I bought that now.
Yeah.
And it was the first, oh my God.
Aha moment. Why would you build? Yeah.
Why would you build?
Yeah. And even now with building control, it is so strict. It's so more expensive now to build out. There's U values, there's EPC restrictions that you've got to adhere to now. So it's a completely different game to build out new. You
do build as well though, don't you?
We do. We build on our own estates. We have our own in-house team that build, constantly 12 months a year we're building new stuff, but on our own property, extending property. Upgrading the pile of bricks is key to our model, because when we're getting valuations, we want to turn an old shed into a very lovely looking shed with all the facilities and the U values.
I'm knowing James as a friend, as I do now, I know him quite intimately.
Steady.
but you can build stuff. You know how to do that inside and out and upside down and round and round, but you still would rather refurbish something that's already there.
Yeah.
And do you like a model where there's both things? So like Baddow Park was your beautiful wedding and events venue. You've also got they be new build in light industrial on that site as well?
We're just doing a new build. We've taken an old building down and recreating a new build on there, but we're doing it in-house. So we're doing it at cost. And I'm very lucky to have a team been around me for well over 20 years, 25 years. And we just do it in-house. We plod along gently. We set budgets for it. We build within our revenue, so we don't borrow any money to build with. And we've got set tenants ready to go into the bit. We won't build until we've got a tenant to go in. So we pre-prep that, ready to go.
Interesting thing.
He's a smart cook, isn't he?
Interesting fact or quote of the week here. Listening to what we've just been discussing there, those of you that have got businesses and you're thinking, I want a little premises to rent my business out, why your rents are going up, why you can't find anywhere to buy. If a lot of business owners have a real desire to buy the unit that they operate out of and they can't get it. It's rocking horse poo, certainly in the southeast of the United Kingdom. Actually, anything that goes around London into Croydon and Surrey and stuff like that, it's very, very rare. Because it's so expensive to build, it actually becomes a point, well, there's no point in doing it. And if you drive, and I know I always mention this at the podcast, if you drive around the country, they're building big distribution warehouses. You're seeing that quite regularly if you're on an M road around the country, but very rarely they build stuff that's...
But the distribution warehouses they're building, because it's simple, it's massive sheds, so they cost less to build because they haven't got division walls. They've got less doors in them. And they've got less everything in them.
And to companies with covenants.
Oh, yeah, it's companies with big covenants, these big distribution companies of the last mile distribution. But then no one's building 2,000 square foot roller shutter door and an exit door.
It doesn't really... stack up for them to do it.
And our client base is mainly storage and distribution, pallets of stuff in, data post out. They're selling vapes or they're selling something on the internet, and they just need 2,000 square foot, and they'll pay £10 a foot for that in our area. Good money.
But even if you look around, because I've been looking for Cafe Deli for more warehouse space. In fact, look at this. This is in Croydon. I will share this with you now. This is Terry, one of our managers at Cafe Deli. And he said, 3,500 square foot, £6,000 plus VAT per month. So what's that? That's 72,000 a year for 3,500 square foot.
Wow.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
A lot of money, yeah.
And
you've got to pick up pennies on parcels that you're sending out in the vans to pick that cost up.
And then on top of that, if you've got 75 grand a year, you're going to have about half of that payable getting business rates.
Yeah.
So your 3,500 square foot is 110 grand a year before electric. before staff.
Yeah. I turn a lot of money.
I
Just
think
open the doors.
commercial property, how I look at it, I look at it as a child you're building to become an adult to then eventually sell down the line. That you're prepping it, turning an industrial estate into a business park, and now we've got a different brand name on it. Put some offices in there, so you're getting better covenants, and it's all to do with when those valuations come in from Savills, they will look absolutely at every tenant. Who are they? What are they? Do they own their own homes? Are they limited companies? And they'll do that study to get your red book valuation. And that's how I run my glory life, is to look at those red book valuations and what are they going to be. And they'll be ready for an institution to buy further down the line. There is taxation that you talked to me about, that we need to probably operate some businesses inside our own business parks to try and change that.
Interesting thing though, talking about, there's so many businesses that have got the money that could get the mortgage, but they're just, what you just said there is we both of us, I think, are in a fortunate position where we've actually got some stuff because we worked hard to get it. But actually, it's not the money, it's not the mortgage, finding the place. That's just so rare, aren't they?
And when I go to look for stuff and I do my quick bit of fag pack hit maths, an operator will outbid me on stuff, because they're quite willing to pay over the odds to then be in there just to stop the money just leaking out of the business into rent,
So if you look at a site now, are you looking at what it could potentially, how it folds into your existing empire, like we always talk about on this podcast?
I will look, JB, I'll look at the most derelict site I can find with the most problems. That's what we like to do, is clean it up, tidy it up. My team would just go in there and start making everything happen, from gravelly areas to tarmac areas to asbestos roofs to new box profile roofs and cladding, and polish it all up so it's fit for purpose into the future. ECPs, the U value on buildings. That's
what is that for people who don't know, like me?
So that means the leakage, that building, how it holds the heat and how efficient it is.
Okay.
Those EPCs are going to be something that is really needing to be looked at, because the rules are going to change on that in the next 3 years, or even the next 2 years.
And they've been continually changing over the last 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means you've got to get those buildings fit for purpose.
And will they retrospectively come and do these EPCs as well? And
you do them every
5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Right, okay.
But you can't lease a building or get a mortgage without a certain level of EPC rating. Yeah.
Same as like a residential property when you have
Absolutely.
that.
We started in resi and then it's hopscotched over to commercial.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's the government's. Well, for business owners, if you're thinking about buying, a building, and trying to give some advice here, I'm thinking about one of our businesses, Cafe Deli. So the rent on our building is $300,000 a year.
Wow.
In Croydon. So that 25 grand a month goes out. I'm desperately looking for somewhere to hopscotch that 300,000
into
paying
mortgage.
Off. Yeah. Now, as soon as it hopscotches into mortgage, it actually makes the business more profitable, because that's one of the problems as well that people need to think about. When you're paying down capital, if you've got it in your own name, that's seen as, I call it, tax on invisible income, because you're paying the mortgage off 20 grand a month if it's in your own name. Because I got burnt on this when I first bought my Wembley commercial property. I put it in my own name, not in my company's name. Yeah. I was paying 5 grand a month off of the mortgage, but I was just collecting just enough to pay the mortgage off. And then, it was naive. I was only like 22, 23. I managed to pull it all off, and the accounts went, got 35 grand tax bill. I went, I haven't earned that much. And he went, no, you've paid that mortgage down. So it might always buy it in a company, because you can move stuff around a bit more. But what that then happens is you've got your EBITDA, your earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization, but you get this other one called EBITDA, where the bank will add on rent, which you can convert as in mortgage payment. So you have this thing called CFADs, which is cash available for debt servicing. So that rent, when the bank are assessing your affordability for mortgage purposes, they will go, well, you've been paying 25 grand a month in rent, so therefore you can afford it on mortgage purposes.
Mortgage, right.
But like we both said, actually the problem is finding the thing.
Yeah, it's finding it. Yeah. And it's no good going to auctions, or we're very friendly with agents, aren't we? We make sure that we have those relationships. I will go and bang on doors, JB. I'll pull past a place, see something that's a bit run down, go and knock on the door, build a relationship. And that takes probably sometimes 3-4 years. And I keep going back. When I drive that way again, I'll go and see the guy. Well, you know, I'm going to leave it to my kids, but I'll probably even cash or whatever, and just keep forging away and working and working and working. Yes. And eventually they will pop. You know,
obviously, we had a conversation last night about a business that I planted the seed 4 years ago that I wanted to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
We met up for a cup of tea in London, this particular lady, and we've done the deal, and we'll complete on that in 6 weeks. And it's structured in such a beautiful way. But that was what you've just said there.
But you've got no competition, James, have you?
No.
If you do it that way, and especially if you've got 4 or 5, 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 of them going on, where you just keep going back.
You're not relying on one coming off.
Eventually, one will come up. There's no one else there. There's just you, and you've put your arm around them. They trust you. They know you again. It's the guy. If I ever sell, I'll be talking to you, and you just do it, and that goes a long way to making something happen. You go to an auction. I never go to any more auctions. Everybody's got their hand up, and they leave you with nothing at the end of it. It's a waste
the only time
you
want to be in an auction is if you're selling.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Yeah, disposal. Yeah.
So obviously, as opposed to what you're doing, where you try and operate the site to run the business from, in most instances. So what's your sort of like KPIs or what you're looking for in terms of the stuff that you buy now? That it is under a certain size, that is in like a location. What's your sort of your shopping list?
My shopping list would be.
Are you always looking as well?
Yeah, always looking.
Right.
My shopping list would be the bigger the better, as opposed to the size of the site. It's as much sweat and organisation and legals and money and everything else to do an acre of a site than it would be to do 10 acres of a site. It's exactly the same amount of effort for me personally. So the bigger the better, and the more run down the worse. So, these sites that are cobbled together in farmyards and containers and shipping containers and everything else, that would be right up our street, because we're very good at cleaning that up. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that you should look at stuff that's already polished up because they're existing businesses. But if I've got nothing else to sweat out of it, then and that's my speciality, is to go in and turn things around. You go to some of these sites.
You've got the skill set.
And I've got the team.
A lot of people don't.
No, and the team there. And if you're bringing in a contractor to do that work for you, they'll be making a profit out of it.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a different model. And we've got very good relationships with not only our core team, but with some very good subcontractors.
Well, I talk about that mostly, James, on if people are doing residential property investment, which I think all three of us have been in and no longer fans
Absolutely
of.
Not. No.
But that's why I say, like, it's actually better to buy something done that you can just get rented out straight away if that is your thing. I was talking about Strutt and Parker, which I think are one of the widely most respected estate agents of the 1.5 million plus market in the United Kingdom. I was talking to one of the agents there. Me and Nats went and viewed a house. I told you this story. You know the house I sent you, beautiful house. So they bought it for 2.8 million, and they've spent 2 million on it, and they're selling it for 3.7. So they've lost like 1.2 million on the refurb, and they've done it up beautifully. And that lady from Strutt & Parker said, at this level, James, the value for money is buying something that's already done up. They never get their money back. Yeah, they never get it back.
They get into this fantasy world of doing it just so for the ever house.
Yeah. They put the 400 grand kitchen in.
It's just crazy.
They put all the underfloor heating in, so it's actually better.
But did they do it as a flip? So they bought it?
No.
Or did they intend to?
They live it. They buy it usually when they're 58. Some pensions have come in. The kids, let's go one more time. Yeah. Then they're in it for 6 years, spent a load of money on it, and they
all the kids have disappeared.
Empty nesters don't need 8 bedrooms anymore.
But I think that when you talk about the values of what you can buy, when we looked at some warehousing, you and I went and looked at some big stuff.
Yeah,
you couldn't build that for half of what it was. It was proper stuff, polished stuff with offices and everything in it. You couldn't buy it for half of that. You couldn't build it for half of that. Yeah.
Another interesting thing, I think, if you are entrepreneurially driven, having just one deal on the go might make you bad at negotiations. One of the things that I think was really interesting what you said, that having 10 or 11 things on, I think makes you a better negotiator because you're not so desperate to get that one thing over the line. Yeah. And I think a lot of people only have one thing.
Yeah.
And then if it goes,
it's got to happen.
But do you know what I picked up on a couple of months ago you were talking about on the pod here is going to see stuff, and I resonate with that.
Yeah,
Just just burn your Sunday and go and see stuff and go there, meet the people. And what you were saying on the pod was so true. I listened to the pod. I listened to all the pods, but I listened to it, and I was saying to myself, that's where I've learned the most information about new businesses, way people do business in different areas, and what they do, just by speaking to the owners. And I've not necessarily bought the businesses or bought the property or whatever, but the learning curve to go is extraordinary. And do a bid, low bid, and leave your number. You don't know what these people's circumstances are. We do this thing where we send an email back and show proof of funds, and we talk about, well, and this could all be done within 45 days. No one can do it in 45 days because the legals can't catch up with it. But we say that, and you're trying to sow a seed into their head that they can just clean their hands of it and disappear on their yacht or whatever they want to do with their money in their millennium age group.
Well, I love the fact that you still want to learn at your grand old age, but the pair of you are very established, successful guys, right? But the fact that you're still like, go out and burn your weekend, and it's all about the learnings. I think that is
He's not old, is he?
Well, no, he's not old, but he's just had an uphill paper.
I like saying, in 16 years' time, he could be American president. 78. Just 16 years to mature. But seriously, I think, Nigel Farage, who wants to be the next prime minister, he's 61.
Yeah.
He's like now in the
prime of his life,
prominence of his career.
Yeah,
whether
absolutely.
you agree with his, no, it's not.
This whole retirement thing at 65, it's a load of old bullshit. It's just there's some stat within.
Mate, my generation ain't retiring at 65. It's not going to be possible.
Retiring ever.
They won't be able to. No.
Won't be able to.
But what I'm saying is that you see this. There's a stat, isn't there, that from retirement, the average death from retirement was something like 5 years after retirement.
Yeah.
Because you just go to mush.
I've got something that I would like to share. So if you have just started out in business, a lot of people, most of the people that watch this are established business owners. But a lot of people want to start out, want to make some money, get going, and they for some reason want to follow our complicated stuff at this stage. I saw a little hack, and I love this. So a lot of people start by selling stuff, don't they? And, we would have done boot sales when we started out. And then there was Facebook Marketplace. I know James Martin keeps Facebook Marketplace going, don't you, mate?
Lovely.
He
I
loves
love it. I travel all over the country for a bargain.
Did you go to shipping him to buy a bike or something?
Shrewsbury, that's not far. It's only 3.5 hours.
Yeah, you spend £500 to save a fiver. But I saw on Instagram a really cool little hack of someone that does this flipping stuff. And they go to charity shops in Chelsea and Marylebone and buy stuff and then flip it.
Yeah.
So they were buying designer shoes for £100 and were selling them for £700 or £800 online. Now, what most people do is they're doing their charity shop flipping around where they live. But this person gone, no, I'm going to get on the tube, do the 1.5-hour journey.
There's Lots Road. Lots Road is a place where there's an auction, and you go in there, and they've got like really high-end furniture, and everything's high because the high-end places have just emptied it into their local auction.
So that was my little hack for if you're starting out. Charity shops in Chelsea, Marylebone, the West End, if you can find a charity shop in the West End. But I thought because the people that live in those areas, they were Chanel dresses in there, and they were like 70 quid. Put them on eBay, 370 quid, and they're clearing. And she was, it was a guy actually, he was just blogging. I thought, I'm going to mention that on the podcast. That's my little hack. Got any hacks for entrepreneurs and business owners starting out? I know I've just landed that on you.
No, it comes back to a thing that we said a couple of weeks ago. Look at the people who've done the thing that you want to do in the way that you want to do it. Because there's lots of people, there's a million and one ways to get rich, but there's, the way that you want to do it. Watch those people, but those who've done the thing you want to do in the way that you want to do it. Because, for example, there was a guy who, I won't mention him by name, but he was on The Apprentice. He'd done very well on The Apprentice. I think he'd won it. And now, he's got a very successful company. But would you want to be the sort of person that he is to try and get those results? Questionable. I don't know. I
think the hack, a great hack that this is from Daniel Priestley. I like Daniel. He's a good guy to watch. He's got a great mind, and he was talking about being an entrepreneur apprentice.
Yes.
So you go to somewhere that you admire, a place that you can go and work there for free or for very little money, and just sidle up against that person that you admire or the business that you want to be in, and just hang around there for 18 months. Yeah, it will be the biggest university course you've ever done, because you will just suck it up, and then you take your version of what you work around them, and then go off and do your thing instead of just jumping in blindly. I mean, I prattle on my YouTube channel and Instagram about stewardship. If I'd only had stewardship in my 20s, as successful I was, how successful could I have been if I'd had a proper thing to do, with someone holding my hand a bit? And that's the idea of this pod as well, isn't it? Is to help people just move that bit quicker without those scars in their back,
That's why I do the podcast. This is my stewardship.
There you go. Well,
I get to knock about you and all.
So we've had some questions and comments on the YouTube channel.
We have indeed. Right, so we're going to chuck these ones at both of you. So first one, well, maybe this is not both of you. This one's just for you, Jimbo. But Chuds has picked out. Love your videos. But what I want to know is, did you develop this wealth yourself, or were you supported by parents?
Hey gang, we're going back to the pod in just a moment, but I wanted to tell you about Entrepreneurs University. This is a platform that I've created for entrepreneurs and business owners that are serious about growth. There's 100 video lessons from me on everything in business, raising finance, buying companies, property investment, and everything in between. Attached to each video is a downloadable PDF that goes into more detail about what we've learned in the video. It goes one step further than that, because I've also put stuff that you won't get anywhere else onto Entrepreneurs University. The lessons go into way more detail, but not just that. You're going to get my business plans, my spreadsheets, and all the files that I use to drive the KPIs in my business. Just think about how powerful that could be for your business. And here's the good news. You can try Entrepreneurs University for free. 14-day free trial. After that, it will cost you just $49.99 a month. That's less than a pair of Nikes to grow the profitability in your business. There's a link in the video description, and I cannot wait to see you in Entrepreneurs University.
So are you a rich kid?
No, my mum had MS and died when I was 17. My dad worked hard, but certainly didn't give me anything. That's why I left home very young and became a clown. And from that, I was earning like £1,500 a week at 16, and I just had no time. So I invested the money into buy-to-lets when buy-to-lets were a thing.
All the rage.
I wish someone had told me. I mean, that's about stewardship. If someone had told me about warehouses at 16, it wasn't until I met a man called Philip at 28 when I said to him, I've said this story on the podcast, I said, how many houses have you got? Because I knew he had lots of property. I don't have any houses, just warehouses. Really? And it was him, that one conversation, I can remember having it, just like the light bulb went, why am I? Yeah. It's just like, you sign the customers up for 10 years. The rents always go up, fully repairing any shop. What if the boiler breaks? You don't have to fix it. It's like a what? And then and the moats around it that you can then secure against it. You're paying them down. They go up in value quicker. But no, there was no rich parents. What about you?
James? Go back a bit there to when you lost your mum and where your situation was at that young age. Do you think that was part of the grit that actually you wanted to be secure and you wanted to be in control? Because I know that's where I go back with my dyslexia. That it was hard, and because it was hard, it made you push more, and it made you have that sort of grit and determination to get stuff done.
Yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy my childhood, no.
And nor did I. I hated going to school, and my dad left when I was 16, and I was with my mum that absolutely supported me, bless her. And I think that those funny old starts do you instead as you get going, because they give you that, listen, you couldn't stop me. You couldn't stop me at all. I would just forge ahead until it happened, and it was that bit of grit that made you turn into that person.
That's I've identified it as the hunger that entrepreneurs have.
I still feel insecure now.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In what context?
I just feel insecure that I've not done enough, and I wish I'd done more earlier.
Is it because you haven't got hair?
Are you happy though? Are you? Because
I didn't say he was my friend. I said he's someone I knew. When
James Sinclair.
He's got his hair on upside down today.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
It suits him though, didn't it? I bet
as it makes you feel happy and cuddly inside.
Don't worry, I think I'm joining you. I'll be 5 years. I'll be in the same club.
But are you even if you look back with a bit of like, oh, I wish I'd done a bit more, are you content? Are you happy? You seem like a very happy person. Are you happy with where you are?
I'm happy because I'm in control of what's going on around me, and I love building the teams, and I love building the camaraderie with the teams of running the businesses and stuff. But I would love to have more money available to buy more stuff, and it's just finding the deals.
It's almost, but with people like you guys, it's, you could look at rich, successful business people. Oh, they want more, they want to buy more, but it's not about a flash motor or a nice watch. It's about making more stuff, which is, buy more light industrial. What would you do with 2 million quid? Oh, imagine the amount of light industrial warehousing I could buy with that.
JB, I think it's about creativity. And there's not a lot of credit given to how creative entrepreneurs are. Without entrepreneurs, we wouldn't be in the place where we are, because every entrepreneur has made those strides where it was impossible to do it, but they came through and done it. So everything comes back to being an entrepreneur, and I think that is key. That is the key thing.
Right, let's get another listener question quickly. Right, King of the Pennies 8358 said, every video I watch, James, I see the progression and I'm in awe, my friend. But a genuine and serious question, what is the ceiling to your empire? I know many would say it's limitless, but your energy and time can reach only so many of your teams, even with great management in place. Do you ever think there's a risk of becoming diluted as you are the brand and the energy behind it all? I'm thinking like a business that turns corporate. What's your line in the sand?
No, I have a very good team that are better than me at management, certainly my senior leadership team, as I'm starting to call them, the SLT, of which there's 20 in there now that really good people that are better than me. But they're not good at the macro stuff that businesses, in my opinion, you have macro tasks and micro tasks, and both need to be done. And that's my E plus M equals S, entrepreneurship plus management equals success. You only have the in my opinion, the power to do the entrepreneurial macro stuff if you know the micro stuff's being done. Like, if you think about looking after your children, if you want to go out for a night out with your kids, you can only enjoy, without your kids, you can only enjoy that knowing if nanny's looking after the kids and they're not, running amok. Yeah. And I think it's the same with business. I can only go and buy another business because I know that I can lean into a management team. Lots of people don't want to employ people and they don't want to pay people more than them for a period of time. That's another common denominator that I've found with super successful people. They're paying others before themselves. It happens all the time.
The ceiling, there is no real ceiling, is there?
No.
If the opportunities are there and you set the parameters for the management team to work to, and that culture, a lot of it is to do with culture, standards, what you're prepared to do, what percentages you need out of the businesses you're going to run. I think it's a good question, but I think there should be no ceiling, and I don't think it diluted.
I think I could have had a much bigger business. One of my weaknesses, I don't know if it's a strength or a weakness, and I think you have it as well, James, is I don't want partners.
No.
I don't want venture capital, private equity involved in my life. I've dipped my toe into that in smaller ways when I was younger, having private investors. I hated it.
Yeah, me too. I had a partner, 50% partner. It was a terrible time for me. And I want to be in control of my own destiny, wrong or right. Because even if I go slightly wrong, I can make it right.
So you've got no other shareholders? You're
nothing
the,
at all.
Really?
Absolutely. No way.
No outside money at all?
No, none at all. The only thing I deal with is banks. Facilitation isn't partners. That's facilitation. You can't save up money and then build an empire. You need facilitation. You need as many banks as we can get hold of the money at the cheapest amount, and we can not pay for it.
But banks don't give you the... I've borrowed millions and paid back millions and continue to borrow millions, but you can't get what you really want out of a bank to really grow a business. Like if I went into London, I could go to a private equity firm and probably get £100 million facility within a year, and I could just go off and buy, but they would have a control over me and I would hate that. But that has stopped me probably from building £1 billion company. Now, I was with Richard Harpin last week that founded HomeServe, and he absolutely did that. He brought in multiple partners that, could write the checks for him to super scale that up much quicker. Ben Francis from Gymshark brought in, one of the youngest billionaires in the world, a super successful entrepreneur. He's brought in partners that could facilitate much more than a bank.
Mm. I mean, that's a really good point, though. That what people think that they might need is a partner, but they don't. They need a facilitator.
I've watched it where they'll pull in a partner that's got a few quid, and then, well, definitely 50-50 deals is terrible. That ends in stalemate. But if there's no contribution, if there's no added value from that partner, an entrepreneur should have vision, creativity, and some, a story that they're going to go and solve a problem for a customer, and they need to do it their way. And it might take you longer, but you'll have a happier journey because you're in charge of your own destiny going forward. I think it's so important. This entrepreneur thing, it is about the journey, by the way. Remember, right when you're in the middle of it and it all feels horrible, they're the good times.
Yeah,
that when I do this, when I do that, that's for distant dreams. It's about what you're doing now and who you're doing it with and what you're achieving. And I strongly believe that.
The big thing. There's one quick point on when you do bring in outside investors. I've seen this lots of people. They go, "Oh, we'll take 20% of the company and we'll give you a big fat check."
Yeah,
but they put covenants in place that give them control over the company.
Well, they could own the company within a year.
Because like a bank will put a debenture or a charge over the business. Investors are doing that.
EBITDA ceilings, don't they?
Yeah. And if you don't do one thing, they go, right, we've only got 20%, but actually we put a load of money in. We now take control and you've lost your job. You don't lose your shares, but...
And every time I've done that with the banks and they've put them EBITDA controls and stuff and stuff, I've always modelled whatever I've done with borrowing that I easily make that, and I try and pay the money up earlier because I'm trying to get fit all the time for borrowing again from them. So they go, "Oh, it's that guy again that paid early and was on time and there was no problems and he said everything he was going to do, he did," and then they'll come again with the money. But they have their caps, don't they, James? They'll only do 60% loan to value, and you've got to find those other bits. It's them other bits that are the hardest bits of money to find, aren't they? And you've got to do those bits of deposits down, or then just it's painful because you've got to go and drag that out of your own pocket or leverage another building against it to get the other bit of money to put the 2 million down to borrow the 6.
You haven't quite thought about.
Oh, God. It is, and the lawyer's fees. How can it be 40 grand for lawyers' fees? Oh, it just is. We had a lawyer thing, didn't we? The last couple of months, we were trying to do a deal for 7.5 million. We couldn't find a lawyer that had insurance for that size deal. And it was not locally. You could go into London and spend a fortune, but the deals are getting bigger and their insurance PI needs to be more to do the deals.
I've got someone now, though, next time.
Oh, good. Let's go and meet them.
But not cheap, but they're fast. And, I think they would have been cheap. What did you pay for that in the end on that deal?
Well,
you done all right.
I did a good deal. Well, I got a 25 grand bill and ended up paying him 10 grand. But that's another story for another day.
What's the next question, JB?
We'll do one final question because there's a team of people who are waiting to do something in a bar, I think, behind the scenes. Great video, James. When it comes to valuing a business, would it always be 3 times profit plus the value of the business's asset, i.e. machinery, etc.?
That's as broad as it is long, and it depends on the deal and the structure. I mean, I think that was from a particular video. That's where I start with. I look at something, I go, look, if we're going to buy it, very easily, we'll pay 3 times taxable profits, we can get to that very easily.
I think you were putting that restriction on yourself, weren't you, really? Yeah.
So that's your mentality when you're buying.
I have paid. The Rossi Parlour was the one that comes to my mind. I paid way in excess of 3 times, but it made absolute crucial sense. And sometimes you just have to write the check, don't you?
So with those sort of
it was very different.
So like with, for example, those sorts of rules, like 3 times multiple on profit, that's almost like your starting point and you won't go, it's almost like a guardrail for you.
Yeah.
So you don't fall in love with the deal.
It gives you an opportunity to quickly do some maths on that basis to work out what you might have to be giving for this deal. Yeah. And it's also when you get into profit, if you work on that as your model to keep yourself in check, you know that you'll be able to get out of that within the first sort of 3 years minimum. A maximum, 3 years. It would be you'd want to be back in and with all your money back and with that earning and churning for you by then. Is that right, James? You're 3?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, if you can get your money, I mean, big investors, if they can get their money back in 5 years and make a profit, they're usually very happy with that. Yeah. But you and I have spoke about this. Sometimes there is a danger with, you know, me and you, as I think we can be too tight and we lose the opportunity.
You lost one recently, didn't you? You said.
Yeah, the garden centre, I was too tight on that. But because I've got 10 or 11 on the go, I think that does keep me strict.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If something folds in very easily, that's when I will, you know, flex a bit more.
JB, I think that the real danger is when someone just, I've got to do this deal. This is the deal.
Yeah.
Forget it. There's always another deal. And as soon as you're not prepared to walk for what you see it as, that's dangerous. You know, and sometimes you will miss a few nuggets of gold, but there's always another deal. There always is another deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. A little in-between episode there, a little breakdown for 2 great entrepreneurial minds. That's coming up, by the way. This was just the starting course. Where can people find your new YouTube channel?
You'll
James
find me
Martin.
on YouTube, Dyslexic James, and then follow me on Instagram, Dyslexic James. Subscribe, follow me.
Come on. Sell them down that camera there. Go. Really.
I can help you. Listen to what I've got to say. It comes from a very old place of scars.
Absolutely brilliant. He's genuinely one of the nicest people that you can
Thank you, JB.
ever meet, and I really love the.
And he probably, we are like best friends, aren't we? We spend a lot of time together, don't we?
Too much. Natalie's having the old grumps with it.
Very,
really.
very,
We
very
speak all the
successful
time.
guy as well.
I speak to him more than you.
Yeah, I know.
He's my favourite James.
He's my favourite James as well. Right, if you have enjoyed today's episode, please feel free. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you download your podcast. Let us know in the comments if you like this format, because we could bring some other business legends in.
Drop us a message on Instagram to James Sinclair Entrepreneur if you like this format and you've got any questions that you would like to leave us.
Or you can DM.
Dyslexic James.
Or James Burt Official. All right, James Burt Official. See you next time. Sod off, YouTube. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.